Hey everyone, Ham here. Today I'm back with another Gran Turismo 7 on PSVR2 video. This time I thought I'd share with you a recent race that I did, and I'm sharing it because I didn't really know what to expect in this race, and it turns out it's one of the biggest paying races that you can do, so it's one of the two biggest. Just a caveat, if you want to do this you need to have unlocked a lot of the menu books. So I completed menu book 39 a while back, which is like the last one before you get to the extra ones. So I can't remember exactly when I unlocked this track, but this is the Sardegna World Touring Car 800 race, which is a 15 lap endurance race which takes about 30 minutes. Like I said at the start, I didn't know what to expect. It turned out to be a lot of fun, and it pays out 485,000 credits, which if you get the clean race bonus takes it up to 727,500 credits. So that's not a bad income for 30 minutes of racing. The other high paying out event is the Le Mans World Touring 700, which is a 30 minutes race as well, and that pays 550,000 credits or 825,000 with a clean race bonus, which I've not actually tried yet. I've only done this Sardinia one. But anyway, I thought I'd show you the video, give you a bit of commentary, and give you some PSVR2 footage. So this is a 15 lap endurance race with a power limit of 800 performance points and no nitrous. So what I've done there is just switched over from hard tyres to medium compound, and I'm taking the GT3 AMG Mercedes, which I've tuned up to 779 performance points. So I think that's just one of my high tune ones, but you could take a bit more power than that and get right up to the limit. So I think this is one of the few times I've done this track. I may have done it before of one of the menu book items, but I don't really remember it. It was definitely the first time I'd entered this event. So the thing with the Mercedes, I like the sound of the engine. It's got a good amount of low down torque, but on the negative side it's not that fuel efficient, as we'll find out shortly. And I actually wasn't monitoring the fuel gauge either, which we'll see when we get to around about lap 5. I realise I'm starting to run low on fuel and things get a bit interesting. So what I'll do, because this is a 30-minute race, I'm not going to show you all of it, but I'll skip ahead in a moment so you can see when I realise there's a problem with the fuel. So here we are on lap 5, made pretty good progress. I've moved up to 6th position, I think by this point. Well, 7th is just in front of us here, and I pass him in a minute. I've lowered the power down slightly towards lean, just to try and extend the life of the tank, but I didn't really know at this point how close or how low I was on fuel. So we've just got a couple of more corners now before we come up to the end of the lap, and then go on to lap 6. Now the tyres are holding out pretty well on these mediums. It's just the fuel at this point where I'm starting to run low. And now I'm just coming up to the end of lap 5 here, as we turn onto the straight. And this is where I realise I've made a bit of a mistake, as I'm glancing over at the pits and also at the laps remaining on the fuel. So I quickly go into panic mode and put the engine management into lean mode to try and conserve fuel and start pulsing the accelerator and trying to drift a little and short shifting. And what is quite funny is, as this lap goes on, you can see with the eye tracking that the fuel indicator keeps going into focus as I'm frantically watching it. And it's a bit like when you've if you've ever driven a real car and you're getting on the reserve tank and you're worried you're not going to make it to the petrol station. This is the kind of panic I started to get. So you can see in a minute I'm almost just constantly looking at the fuel gauge and not looking at the road. So I think here I'm starting to stare at it like when I've got a moment on the straights to see how long I've got left, and we're down to like 0.1 of a lap's worth of fuel. And yeah, I'm thinking I'm not sure we're going to make it at this point. It's quite funny because this is the first time I've done this event. So just a couple more corners, and now I'm trying to be really cautious with the throttle short shifting, and just trying to make it, because we're actually on vapors at this point. We're at 0, and I think as we come to here we hear the engine cut out, so at this point I'm actually just coasting into the pits without any fuel. And this point here of the pit crew, I don't know if it normally takes this long, but it felt like an eternity for my car to roll up, which is pretty funny. So if you've not done this before with the pit stops, this is where you can pick your tyres. So I just go for more mediums, and the little diamond on the far right is the recommended amount of fuel you need. So it's basically saying let it fill up all the way to the tank, and if you hit the don't refuel, you can basically cut it short if you want to. So from that point on, I'm happy we've got a full tank of fuel, and I'd probably shift the power back up to lean in a minute. I'm just trying to get my bearings on how much fuel do I need for the rest of the race, and whether I can do any more, if I can do it without any more stops. But as I found out, you need to do 2 stops really, and stopping on laps 5 and 10 is probably the best strategy with mediums, at least with this car anyway. So I'll fast forward to the next pit stop. This is lap 10. I actually decide to stay out, and I go from 4th to 1st, so obviously the AI decides to pit on lap 10. And I think I've got 1.8 laps worth of fuel anyway, so I'll leave it on power mode and just go for it, try and widen the gap between me and the AI. So now I decide to come in on lap 11, and I actually pick soft tyres now because we've only got 4 more laps to go. And you can see on the refuel gauge there's a little diamond about 2/3 of the way along, indicating the amount of fuel we need to finish the race. So I hit the do not refuel button just as the fuel gauge goes past that little diamond shape, and we've got 4 laps of fuel loaded into the fuel tank. So that brings me out, I think, in 6th position. So I've now got 3 laps, I guess, to get past the rest of the cars on the softs. So it's a bit of a race towards the end. But it's good fun though. And the other thing that I like with the Mercedes is the seat position in the car in VR. I think I prefer it over the Nissan GTR that I'm used to driving in 2D. But I've driven this car quite a lot in Assetto Corsa Competizione. So I'll just let the video play out towards the end and just fast forward to the overtakes. So now it's just a case of chasing down these last few cars. When I pass 4th position and come onto the straight here, I'm in 3rd place, and it just so happens the AI's in the pit lane on lap 12, so that puts me straight to 1st, and it's a clean run towards the finish line. So just fast forward to the final lap, and I get caught out by surprise here. First of all, it was just my lapse of concentration where I hit the wall, but if you look, the softs have pretty much burnt out by this final lap, and it's more obvious on this section here where I'm turning and I did just drift off the track. So really I think mediums for each stint is the way to go. Going for softs at the end was probably the wrong choice because they were just burnt out. But it's right at the end anyway, so maybe if I was a bit more careful I would have been fine. But it doesn't make any difference. I still finished first, and even with that bump at the end I still managed to get the clean race bonus. So there we go, finished with a 14-second lead in 27 minutes 13 seconds, and we win 727,000 credits. Okay, that's it for the Gran Turismo 7 on PSVR2 video. Hopefully you picked up some tips there from my mistakes, and you can see it's one way of earning a fair amount of money reasonably quickly whilst playing the game and having fun. Alright, that's it from me. Until next time, bye bye.